right. So, welcome everyone to another episode of Leadership from the Heart. Today we have ourselves Michael Hunter. He's known as the Uncommon Hero, a culture shifting leadership coach who began his journey debugging code and now helps tech leaders debug themselves. As the founder of Uncommon Teams and the host of Uncommon Leadership Podcast, Michael helps leaders uncover hidden cultural patterns, shift energy dynamics, and co create environments where people can perform and thrive. Michael, welcome to Take Two. Good morning. How are you today?
I am great, Romie.
Exactly. What most of you don't know is that we tried recording this a couple days ago and it didn't go as planned. And so this is definitely Take Two because we were just getting to the good stuff in that last episode. And I'm sure that this one's going to be equally, if not greater than what that one could have been. So I'm grateful for you and the ability to reschedule.
Happy to be here and glad that we could.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Mike. So we began with talking through, how your work blends tech systems and that thinking of like deep leadership is the catalyst for transformation. My question is, what inspired you to shift from, the tech world into culture and ultimately people?
When I look back at my career, I can see that it's been in 3 phases where I started out debugging code and then I moved to debugging people. I realized that was inflicting help, not offering it, which I don't want to do. The inflicting, not the offering. And so now I help people debug themselves. And what really helped me realize that that shift was important was I noticed a series of things. A manager who had 20 priorities for his staff and refused to believe that he could get it below 10. My manager telling me, Michael, you are doing everything that I want you to do. You are having such an impact on your team. And I don't know how to show the value of that. So I need you to do this other thing that's nothing you do well and isn't going to help the team out, but that's how I know how to show value. And many more examples like this. And I started realizing these are all people problems. These are not technical. And then about the same time, I started working with Jerry Weinberg, who told me every technical problem is a people problem.
Mm.
And this all came together and I realized, yes, these are all people problems. I can't solve a manager insisting that he has 20 priorities for his team through technical means. This isn't even a process thing. This is his belief of the best way to manage the work that he has. My manager telling me that he needed me to do work that neither of us wanted me to do because that was the only way he knew to show my value. This wasn't a technical problem. It wasn't a process problem. It was him not understanding how to talk to his peers in his management chain about the value I was bringing in ways that they hadn't seen before. When I talk with leaders now, it's always the same thing. Maybe sometimes things show up as technical problems or as process problems. And in the end, they're always people problems. And even more than that, they're almost always some aspects of themselves they can't see, or they don't want to recognize, or they don't understand how to actualize. And so they aren't able to achieve what they want to do. They aren't able to bring their dreams for themselves, their career, their teams, their company to fruition. Because just like we can't see our own back without a lot of tools and technology, and even
Hmm.
then, it can be really challenging to get that scratch, or if we want to put a Band-Aid on a sore, it's really challenging to do by ourselves. If we have someone else there who can see the back directly, doesn't have to reverse all the things that mirrors do to get to the right place and can actually reach the whole thing, which we just physically can't reach parts of our body with our own hands, most of us. And it's just way easier to be able to do this. And so this is what I do in a nutshell is I deeply understand who you are. I can see all sorts of possibilities for how to move forward that you maybe don't. And I help you discover for yourself what your way is to move forward so that you can sustain this, you can adapt this to every situation you find yourself in. You can build ease in doing this, and then you can start doing this with agility.
Tell me more. You said so much, but I'm hanging off that last phrase. Tell me more about the agility before I take us all the way back to the beginning.
Agility isn't the right
What is
word.
agility? What is agility? Yeah.
This is the best word I've found.
So what is the right word?
I don't know yet. This is the best word I've found so far. It's especially problematic in software spaces where agile has a very specific meaning in terms of
Mm-hmm.
process. These four
Mm.
evolutions of uncommon leadership are simultaneous and they also build on each other. So we always start with resilience because if you don't have the ability to get back up when you fall down or get knocked
Mm-hmm.
down,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have the physical, mental, spiritual, emotional energy to keep going in the face of all the times it's not super easy, then it's really hard to do anything else. Once you have that resilience, or as you're building that resilience, now we can start adding on adaptability. So you can bring intention to each of the actions that you take and more easily create the outcomes that you're trying to create in every situation, which is always going to be a little different from each other.
Mm-hmm.
As you become practiced and more capable there, then we can move into ease, where this becomes play
Mm-hmm.
instead of the strenuous work of, okay, I'm going into this meeting. What are the 5 things I want to do? And what is the one of those that's really most important? And of all the tools I have, which are the ones, the one or two that are most valuable to bring into play? And how am I going to do that? Bringing all that intention into it. And start just doing it as play. Easeful doesn't necessarily mean easy, but it becomes
Mm-hmm.
more second nature. And then once we have that, the resilience to keep going, the adaptability to customize every situation, the ease to do this as a matter of course rather than through explicit thought, then we get into the agility where we can start dancing around. And it's not just easeful. We can do this with finesse. And so it's taking
Mm-hmm.
that ease and intention and resilience and really applying those deft touches where instead of turning the crank
Mm.
900 degrees to create the outcome, and then turning the crank 900 degrees with fun to create the outcome, now we can find the
Mm-hmm.
right crank to turn a bazillionth of a degree to create that outcome.
Mm. That's good. That's really good. Going back to the beginning part of your answer, you mentioned that step two of your journey was helping people and that you found that to be quite unhelpful. Tell me more about that.
Not helping people, with inflicting help. So there's a difference between,
That's what I meant. Inflicting
yes,
help, yes.
inflicting help versus offering help. So inflicting help is, Romie, black is the wrong color for you. You should be really wearing Hawaiian shirts all the time. Or Romie, that hairstyle is not the right thing for you. Or Romie, the way that you are
Yeah.
interacting with your people isn't working at all. Here's how you should do it. Inflicting help
Mm-hmm.
often uses words like should and have to.
Mm-hmm.
These are the 10
Mm-hmm.
books you must read before you die. These are the 100 movies that you have to watch. How often do you hear something like this from
Mm-hmm.
people you trust,
I was
people?
gonna say that's why I'm laughing because yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's often, maybe
yeah.
always well-meaning. It's not paying
Mm-hmm.
attention to who you are. It's their idea of what's right to do. Offering help
Yeah.
is asking questions. It's helping people understand where they are,
Mm-hmm.
if that's what they want to do. Hey, Romy, would you like some feedback about the way what you said in the meetings today affected me and what I noticed affecting on other people? Or even more simply, hey,
Mm-hmm.
Romy, would you like to have some feedback on how you're showing up in meetings?
Mm-hmm.
If the person isn't open to
Yeah.
that feedback, You can tell them, spend 8 hours straight telling them all the things that you think would help them be a better person, more effective leader. It's not going to do any good because they're going to resist it, let alone just ignore it. They're going to resist it. And then whatever nuggets in there they might be able to take in are just shoved away. And maybe it's not even that they don't want to hear it,
Yeah.
but now isn't the right time. And it's
Hmm.
not only that we do that with others, we do this with ourselves all the time. I shouldn't have had that outburst in that meeting. I shouldn't have had that extra taco at lunch. Well, maybe now isn't the right time. Maybe what we need to be able to understand how we could have handled that meeting better or come out of lunch feeling more nourished is taking a little time before we go in and decide what we're going to have for lunch. Maybe we need to have some food before we can
Hmm.
understand, reflect on what the experience was in that interaction that went really awry. So we always need to do this with ourselves first, and then we can offer other people and inquire if they would like us to help them with whatever's going on for them.
Yeah. Yeah, if not, it's just projecting, right? And I read something recently or I heard something recently that said the potential you see in people is an illusion. It's not real. It's just what you would do if you were them. And that's just not real. So to your point, inflicting help is not real because you're not them. You don't have the same perspective as them. You don't have the same lived experience. And so, yeah, I agree with asking if it's okay to give you feedback or to give you my perception of how you were in this meeting, just to, also it's so many things. One, it's true, right? And two, it's less defensive for that person to receive the feedback to your point and get the nuggets, right? Because feedback, yeah, sometimes it stings, but it doesn't have to. So I really, really like your inflicting help outlook and how unhelpful it could actually be. And those words should, could are some of the, the most harmful words we have in our vocabulary
They really are.
because it insinuates that, yeah, 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 yeah. Go ahead.
I tell people all the time, don't should on yourself.
I'm stealing that for sure, Michael. I'm stealing that for sure.
Please do.
Don't shit on yourself.
Which
Yes.
sounds a lot like
Yeah.
another word.
That's so good.
And shitting on
Yeah. That's
ourselves
why I
is
like it. It's
exactly
a play on
doing
words.
what that other word does.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So good. So good. So Michael, you're an author, right? You just are releasing your book, The Resilient Tech Leader. It offers, from what I understand, not a one size fits all solution, but this is where we kind of got hung up on our last podcast attempt, which was talking about the paradox because coming from the corporate world, IT guys aren't the most friendliest, They just want you to like unplug and plug it back in before you call them, right? Just try everything before you call them. And so it seems like they're resistant to, relationship, but I'm sure you have a different outlook at that since, you're a tech guy and a people person. Can you walk us through the entire paradox of IT people and relationships? And then, of course, let's talk about your book for sure.
There's several things mixed up in there, conflated together. One
Hmm.
is a lot of what you're talking about in terms of IT people is really anyone in customer service. Every customer, anyone who has spent time working with customers has dealt with people who are 100% confident they have done the process, the thing in the right way. They press the right button to put their order through on the website. They have done the right sequence of calculations to get the answer to balance their checkbook and it didn't work. They have fully read the manual for their new espresso machine and they've done all the things in the right ways and it isn't working. When oftentimes they've missed something very basic or simple. And
Yeah.
the more technical or out of a person's understanding and background something is, the less that we can going into all the technical details of the reason you have to set all the settings in the espresso machine in this particular way in this particular order to make a thing happen, or the reason that we have to make sure that all the cords and plugs and everything on the computer are really synced in nice and tight is important isn't worth explaining. It's not going to help. What's most important is helping the person complete the thing that they're trying to complete. And if we ask, if you plugged in the computer, of course they're going to say yes, because no one wants to admit that they've forgotten something that's stupid or obvious or basic. So if instead
Mhm.
we ask,
Mhm.
okay, unplug it and plug it back in, then
Mm.
if it's just a loose connection, that's going to reset that. And it's probably, we're going to reseat it more securely because we know we're talking with somebody and we have to tell them, yes, we've done this. If we realize, oh, it wasn't plugged in, then the customer support person is giving us a way to save face because we don't have to say, you're right, it wasn't plugged in. We can just say, yep, I plugged it back in.
Mhm.
And in some situations, the customer support person has no idea what's going on. I remember one case when I had built the first intranet application, web application for a bank, internal employees to use. And a lot of customers were saying that
Mhm.
they were getting double orders on things. I had built the application. I didn't understand what was going on. When I went down, and I could have spent all day on the phone asking them what was going on. They were all new to web and mouse clicking and all these things. They were used to the old mainframe text entry tabbing around. So they wouldn't have realized what was going on either. It took me about
Mhm.
3 minutes sitting down and watching several people to discover that the problem in every single case was they were double clicking web links, which of course only need to be single clicks because they were used to using Windows and Mac UI desktops where you
Mhm.
double click everything. When we call up because our computer is doing something we don't want it to do, it's not immediately clear for the person on the other end what's going on. They have to go through a whole debugging routine of checking, is it this, is it this, is it this, is it this, is it this? The first level customer service people that we get are often, they're just, their job is to go through scripts. And it's not to do detailed debugging necessarily, it's to get through all the obvious things. And then for anything that doesn't, because that's going to solve 98% of the cases. And then the ones that it doesn't, then they can go into a
Mm.
more detailed investigation. We, on the other end, get frustrated because, especially after we've done this a few times, of course, I've unplugged the computer, I've rebooted, I've done
Mhm.
all the things that I know to always do because you're always going to ask. And the customer service person doesn't know that we've actually done that because a lot of people will say, well, of course I've done this already. So it's a dance. If we could be in person at every desk going through this and watching, then it's not necessarily any easier or better. There are all sorts of ways that we could adjust the interaction to make this much more enjoyable for both sides. Instead of just
Mhm.
going through a script, we can take the whole interaction as a way to build connection. Hey, Romie, have you rebooted your computer yet? Well, let's just do that just in case. Sometimes it takes a
Mm.
few times. Now, while it's rebooting, how's the weather there? What's going on? How's your sport team doing? That helps each of us see each other more as people instead of just the stupid customer service person who's making me do all the things that I've already done and just get me to someone who's going to solve my problem already. It also helps us see as a person, not these stupid users never know what to do. All they have to do is just plug the thing in the first place and everything just works. And all the other stereotypes that each side have of the other. And this is one way to describe all the work that I do with leaders is how do you see yourself as a person and deepen
Mm.
your relationship with yourself? And how do you do this with each person on your team and your peers and everyone else that you're interacting with?
Yeah, that's incredible. How do you help people deepen their relationship with themselves?
One of the simplest thing to say and one of the hardest things oftentimes to accept is you, Romy, are enough. You, Romy, can be who you are. You, Romy, have a role in this world. that only you can fulfill. And you, Romie, must be you. And must there is in both you can't do anything else other than be who you are right now in this moment, because that's who you are in this moment. If who you are in this moment is denying and resisting and pushing away everything that you are, then that's who you are right now. You must be that. There's no other
Mm-hmm.
way you can be. And it's also in the
Mm.
imperative of if you are not being you, then you are refusing you to yourself and you're refusing you to everyone else. And whoever we are, the world is clamoring to have us in their life. The thing that if the thing that we do is wash windows in a really magical way that makes them sparkle and lights up everyone who then looks out or through or against that window. There are bazillions of people who would love to have their windows sparkle like that. You are not allowing them to have that beauty and grace and joy in their life if you refuse to wash windows for all the reasons that you do.
Yeah. And I really appreciate the fact that you said to like just to receive all the parts of you, including the parts that resist, because that's you too, and I think that, for me, that was a little bit of a shift because when we're in that resisting mode, we often think we're resisting it because it's not us. But if we can just accept that side as well, then they can calm down and accept that too. And I say they, but it's you.
Yes, one of the keystone moments in my journey was when I realized I love myself, even when I don't love myself.
So good, Michael. So good. So how do you help leaders that aren't yet aware of like the depth of this work? And how do you take them through that without them? Because most people that come to us for coaching, they come to us because they want to level up, they want to climb the ladder, they want to do all these external things, not understanding that it's an internal game. So, how do you help people with the internal game?
It starts from the first conversation we had, where I'm trying to understand and help you recognize what is the gap that you have that you're asking for help for, or you're recognizing you might want
Hmm.
to shift. And part of that, one of the first things I always do is build a change map where we start by listing out everything you want that you don't have in every part of your life, not just in your business or work or career or the part of your life that you believe you're coming for help for, because it all interrelates and interacts and intermixes.
Hmm.
And then for each of those things, what is everything we can come up with that is holding you back from having that? This gives us a picture of where you want to be, where you are now, all those things that are keeping you from where you want to be. And oftentimes it suggests many different tiny little things that you could do to start moving towards
Hmm.
what you want. So this gives us current state. Then the next step is always building out your quick reference card of all these different aspects of who you are and how you work best. What are your replenishing resources, reservoirs of energy that help you keep going? Some of these are physical. You need a certain kind of nutrition. You need a certain kind of exercise. You need a certain kind of amount of sleep. All the things that are specific to you. And these are also more abstract or less physical. One of my replenishing resources is space. I need physical space around me where the energy and air and I can flow. I need mental space. I want half an hour between meetings is great. I need part of the reason that I invest in high-end audio equipment is that gives me a sense of space in the music and the soundstage and all of that. And music to me is super replenishing. These are also factors like what is your primary puzzle, your perpetual puzzle? This is the question that is always pulling you forward, pushing you forward. What is your primary process? The way that you create change in the world. As we build this out, this quick reference card, some of these you'll know every factor with 100% confidence. Some of these you will have no idea. Many of these you'll be somewhere in between. And so this is how we deepen your understanding of who you are and how you work best, is just like with a change map. Where are you now? With your quick reference card, what do you understand about who you are and how you work best? When do you prefer structure over
Mm-hmm.
spontaneity? And then over time, just having this make a huge difference, because now we can start putting into this practice. Michael does way better if he has half an hour between meetings. So now Michael can schedule his time so that he usually has half an hour between meetings. And he knows that when he doesn't have that half hour between meetings, he needs to find ways to make up for that. It gives us a clear understanding of where we
Mm-hmm.
might focus from day to day, from meeting to meeting. Romie, her primary process, she has 5 different things that she has low confidence that any of these are correct. She's pretty confident that this is about the right set of things, though, that there's not something else missing. We just need more clarity. And then it's all putting this into practice and play.
Mm-hmm.
What is top of mind for you right now? Matrix against everything where we might want to explore. And then what does this suggest for a tiny step we could take, a tiny experiment we could make to gather more data?
Mm-hmm.
Take that step, make that experiment, observe what data we get out of it, and then use that to generate our next tiny step and tiny experiment.
Yeah.
For people in tech, especially, all this emotional, squishy people stuff can be super scary. So we turn it into data, because data is nice and precise and quantized. And for programmers and people in software, especially, this is what we're doing all day, is taking in data, finding ways to process it in logical ways, and then push it out, transform it into something else. To get this exact same approach with ourselves and with the people around us.
Yeah, I think that that's like a life hack, what you just said about the quick change card. Like to know what you need is so imperative to your life because, like you said, if you don't have that half an hour in between meetings, then you automatically know, all right, I'm going to be a little off. I could increase my, less attention to detail or be more fidgety and like to know that, to be aware of that so that you can either control it or accept it or whatever it is you're going to do with it. And more importantly, to know after the meeting you're going to need some downtime so that you can like self-regulate and come back to yourself is, I think it's like an undervalued thing right now. But what you just said was it's money, it's everything for sure.
It is. And we all have notice me nudges that are telling us something may be a little off right now. And for everything on our quick reference card. And we can always develop mighty mitigations. So when we're not able to be in our
Mm,
ideal frame, there are steps we can take, things we can do to cope.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I love the fact that because you're right. Like in all of it, I'm operations background. So, everything is scale, structure, speed, and turning it into data is definitely the fastest way to get people to buy in and to understand how they're effectively affecting something objectively instead of having it be relative. So I really appreciate that. That's really good. Really, really good.
Thank you.
You said something in the beginning. You said something in the beginning about your manager not understanding how to articulate the value that you were bringing in to your team. And so he needed you to do something that was more quantifiable so that he can justify possibly your position, who you are, what you're doing. How would you now today help a leader who's having a hard time articulating the value that somebody's bringing because it looks like more soft skill than hard skill? Or how would you help them see and articulate that today?
I would approach that in a couple ways. One would be to help them just list out all the reasons that are holding them back from articulating that value. Some of that may be they don't know how to explain it
Mm,
themselves. They're recognizing that
sure.
this person is adding an immense amount of value. They don't really understand what that value is. Part of it may be that
Hmm.
their understanding of what that value is has no connection to what the values of the company or the manager or other parts of the structure seem to be asking for. So one thing we could do there is go talk to manager, skip manager, HR,
Mhm.
other parts of the company to understand what did they really mean? What are they really looking for? A really common example here is everyone writes status reports and sends them up the line and sends them out to various parts of the company. And I have almost never, only once or twice have I met someone who really wants a status report. What people are always asking for are, I want to understand the risk that our product isn't going to release
Mhm.
with quality.
Mhm.
I want to understand how our schedule is doing against plan and how likely it is that all these other factors that depend on this plan coming in on time are going to need to be adjusted. All sorts of other factors. None of this, transmitting none of this requires having every person on your team give you details about everything they did that week, collating that up into email that you send up to your manager who does the same thing and on and on.
Mhm. Mhm. Part of what you would do.
Another thing I would do is facilitate conversations between the manager and their stakeholders, whoever they're trying to describe this value
Mhm.
to have the conversation about what did they understand about what this person is doing? What do they perceive of the impact they're having? How does that map against the impact they expect someone at that level or that specific person or this particular team to have? It may be that what the person is doing, no one has actually recognized that this is a need. If
Yes, that.
and an infinite amount of other conversations, interactions, exercises like this. It would always be going back to the simplest possible process. Where are we? What can we do to gather more data? Do that now. Collecting the data that we generated. What does this suggest for what to do next?
Yeah, I think that, to your point, just because it's quiet and things are going well doesn't mean that things aren't being done, right? And I think that a lot of senior leadership thinks that because it's quiet, because things are running well, and they don't necessarily see or know what their leaders are doing, they assume that it would run that way if those leaders weren't there. Come to find out, they wouldn't because there's a glue that this leader is bringing together that you won't understand because you're not there all the time, and nor should you be. And so I always, and as a leader, sometimes you have your employees that are the quiet ones that just go get it done. You sometimes forget to thank them for, because they're just out of sight, out of mind, they're just doing their thing. But like those are the ones you've got to, like, when you remember, you've got to put it on you've got to say thank you, because the peace that they're bringing is everything, right? It's not chaotic. That alone is a data point to say, oh shit, things are going really well down there. Let me not touch that, and, and sometimes people are just like, well, I think things are just going too well down there. Let's see what we can do. And come to find out, you like mess around and find out that what this leader was doing was actually like pertinent, like it was important to this team, to this department, to this organization, et cetera, et cetera. So I think I like how you're saying to bring in the person. You're almost talking about managing up. If you're a person who has a leader that can't articulate it, you're almost asking them to manage up, which is a great thing to do if you can do it with finesse. So that's good. That's good.
And even if you don't feel you can do it with finesse, you can still start a conversation.
Sure.
I'm really
Sure.
sorry, manager, that you don't know how to show the value of what I'm doing. I appreciate that I'm doing exactly what you want me to be doing. How can we work together to make that value clear to other people? Because you and I get it. We need everyone else to get it so that I can keep doing this for you and maybe I can do this for other people too. It doesn't have to be an adversarial
Exactly.
manager. You don't know what you're doing. Let me teach you. That's back to inflicting help. There's always ways
Right.
to do this in a way
Yes.
that lifts us both up.
Hmm. Yes. Yes. And like what most, I think people who have leaders don't understand is that those leaders are just people too, you know? So I really like the fact that you brought that up. It's just a conversation. I have to tell people all the time, like, what you see is the leadership's team's best. They're not holding back, right? This is everything they have. So if you have any new information or any better ways to do this, like, please come forward, because we're not holding back. We're giving you all we've got. And so managing, I encourage managing up all the time, because I think it's just more information, it's just more data. It's just going to help you have a wider perspective to do something better than you've already done it. So even if you're not good at it, just have a conversation. That's what Michael's saying, and that's what Romie's saying too.
Yes. Part of that conversation can always be, how do you want me to have conversations with you? What would you want me to have conversations with you about?
Mm-hmm.
Help me understand what the value is you want from me. What data do you want from me? How do you want me to interact? Some people are, give me all the data. You could never give me too much data. I don't care if it seems like a deluge. More like a trickle to me. More and more and more is always better. Other people are, give me 5 pieces of data and then I'm done. I need a day and a half to process, and then I'll come back and I can take more in.
Right. Right. Yes. Learning how to manage up is important. Well, they're just people. There's this complex that leaders should have it all put together, but they don't. We don't. Like, we have blind spots too. We have things that we don't even think about. So how do you want me to speak to you? No. Before we go to final thoughts, please add.
And we can always start managing up with ourselves.
Hmm.
We have a heart, we have a mind, we have a
Tell me more.
body, we have a spirit, we have intuition, we have all sorts of other parts. And most of us don't have a healthy, stable, fabulous relationship with all of those parts, let alone understand how to integrate them all together, let alone be able to do that every single second of every single day. So if managing up to our manager or someone on our team, this is managing out, not just up. It's all the same thing. If that seems too scary, maybe that's because we aren't doing that with ourselves. We can sit down and have a conversation
Hmm.
with our heart, with our mind, with our body, with our spirit, with our big toe, and our things. Like, what's going on? What data do you have that you'd really like me to understand? The more we build out and that connection and relationship, each of those, the more we'll be able to do that with anyone else.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And man, that's gold, dude. Like, the only reason why you're scared is because you're not doing it with yourself. So good. So, so good. I'm going to think about that one all day today. What are some of your final thoughts for the audience?
I'd say a couple of things. First is, remember, you don't have to have a plan. 5-year, 10-year, 1-year, 1-day plans, those have never worked for me. They may not work for you. Even if they do work, you don't have to always have that. All you have to know is what feels like the next right thing to do. Do that. Take in the information that gives you and then use that to decide what to do next. If that is all that you do, you can achieve everything you desire. The
Mhm.
second I would say is, I know you can do this because I have done this. This is my journey. My process is what I've developed from struggling through all of these things for so long myself, and then refining that through working with many, many leaders to come up with a system that, yes, it's a system and there's a process to go through, and built in at every step of the way is customizing that to you. One of the key parts
Mhm.
of my book is, at the end of every chapter is here's how you know if it's time to move on to the next chapter. And one of the options is always, I just want to move to the next chapter. Great. You don't have to get to a particular gate. You don't have to have a particular score on some skill to be ready to move up to the next level. Just move up. If it's too much, then do
Mhm.
something to adjust. Or there's no perfect ideal place to be. There's only where you are right now. And if that's not where you want to be, then great. If that's close enough to where you want to be, then great. If that's exactly where you want to be and you don't think you want to go anywhere else, then great. You can hang out there as long as you want.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. So where can people find you and your book that drops in February?
February 20th. Yes, you can go to theresilienttechleader.com, which will redirect to uncommonteams.com, which is my primary website. There you can sign up for my newsletter, learn more about working with me, and find links to the roundtables and podcasts and all the articles that I have. And that's also the bit on, I'm also Uncommon Teams on LinkedIn, and Uncommon Leadership Podcast on YouTube.
That's awesome. One final question. Besides my podcast and your podcast, what's your favorite podcast right now?
I have a lot. One is the NPR's All Music Considered. I love music.
Okay.
I also really like Dave Campbell's, I'm going to get the title wrong, Living the Next Chapter, which is, he has authors on of every stripe, from someone who just self-published and you've never, ever, ever heard of, to celebrities from Hollywood, talking about books that they've written and their journeys. And there's a third one that I'm trying to tell myself what it is, and I'm not able to hear right now.
No, that's okay. That's where we are right now then. Michael, thank you. This was super insightful. And I'm so glad we got to re-record and try this again because the gems that you dropped, I mean, for me alone, just like reminders for me and like some of it new, it was so good. It's very nourishing on a beautiful Saturday morning. So thank you. Thank you, Michael, so much for being here today.
You're welcome, Romie. Thanks for setting up the space so we could do this.
Yeah, we might have to do it again. I don't know. We'll see.
I'll spend as much time with you as you want, Romie. This is great.
This is awesome. So, with that being said, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Leadership from the Heart. Please check out Michael. Please check out his book. Obviously, you heard we're really aligned in all the spiritual and leadership talks. Of course, we are, right? That's why we're here together. But please check him out, give him a shout out, buy his book, do the things, support, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of Leadership from the Heart.